Good evening. This is Community Unity Now. This is Bill Morton, President of the Rogers Park Chamber of Commerce, and I am Trudy Leong, Administrator of the Rogers Park Chamber of Commerce. We have with us on Community Unity Now today, Assata Moore, founder of Black Math Genius. Welcome, Assata.
Hi, thank you. Thanks for having me.
First of all, tell us what the Black Math Genius is all about, and also how your experience as a principal was a part of your founding Black Math Genius.
Absolutely. Black Math Genius program, there are three components to it. There's what we call a boot camp, which is a video series. There are about 60 videos that go into the history and the origins of mathematics, advanced mathematical concepts, and programming. We also have tutoring services for families and even school districts, and we have professional development for teachers and administrators. Black Math Genius, and the name specifically, is geared towards solving a very specific problem, and that is the Black wealth gap and the Black achievement gap in Black between white families, Asian families. And in fact, that gap is on the decline. And what we're finding is that many Black students, they don't have the confidence that they need, and hence the name Black Math Genius. Words are powerful, so we want to start there. So hence that's the name, Black Math Genius, very specific problem solving issues in the Black community that I wholeheartedly believe, and data supports this, that a lot of the issues we're having are mathematics problems.
Mm-hmm. And your experience as a principal, what did you see in
Yes. Yeah, as a principal, of course, I'm seeing the data. I'm seeing what our test scores are looking like. It's NWEA, if it's the ACT, the SAT, what have you. And what we find is that as educators, that Black students, no matter how you slice the data, I've been in school districts where Black students score even lower than the special ed demographics, okay? If it's a large white school district. No matter how you slice the data and you look at it mathematically, Black students are performing at the bottom. That's in elementary school, and the problem only gets worse as you go on through high school and then even in college, because what happens, they don't take the more advanced classes in high school, and by the time they get to college, they're intentionally looking for majors that has the least amount of mathematics. And what that translates into is that they're choosing majors that by default, 1 out of 5 are choosing majors that are going to have them impoverished for another generation. So as a principal, I'm not only seeing it in the students, but I also see it with the parents as well. So what I've found is that if you work on confidence, students' confidence first and foremost, their ability to be able to collaborate with others, then you can start to get towards the mathematical piece. So it's mindset first and then mathematics.
So with confidence, collaboration, and mathematics, you're building a foundation that they normally wouldn't have. And if you have a not solid structure, then that just perpetuates on and on throughout the years and throughout an entire life.
Yeah, it perpetuates, but then what happens is that we keep feeding the belief. So when they don't have the proper structures and the supports to make sure that they're successful, because they aren't successful, it feeds the belief. Oh, Black children aren't as good in mathematics. And then the children themselves start to believe it, and even the parents start to believe it. So I call it not even an achievement gap, I call it a belief gap, because we do not believe in the intellect of Black children, specifically in mathematics, the same way that we do as others. And so when I'm in a classroom and I'm working with students, first of all, I don't care who the child is. I believe that every single one of them, that they are capable of doing what it is that I'm giving them. And so I work extra hard when they're not getting it to make sure that they are getting it. And even when they do get it, now I'm pushing their thinking even further to have them think about it in a more advanced way. So that is what belief looks like. When you don't have belief, you have educators that are always focusing on what is the reteach going to look like? What is remedial work going to look like? Their focus is on, we have students that are coming into the 9th grade 2 or 3 years behind. we're always deficit model planning, whereas mine is a pro approach because I know they can do it, and it's on me, it's on educators to figure out how to pull that genius out of them.
So you're creating an environment with focusing on the belief gap first that they may not have at home, so that they can achieve more things in the future.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's the belief gap that they may not have at home, but also the support and the resources that they may not have at home, but also the historical context with mathematics. When you go back and look at the origins of mathematics, the earliest mathematical instrument is a bone with carvings on it, found in the Lubombo Mountains in near South Africa and Swaziland mountains on the borders of those two. And what archaeologists and scientists believe is that it was a Black woman to first start doing mathematics. 15,000 years after that, so 25,000 years ago, when you start to go north in Central Africa in the Ishango region, there was another bone where it looks like the mathematics had advanced, because now you have these 4 columns, and in their columns you see some prime numbers, you see multiples of 3s and 4s and 12s as well. And then once you get on up to Egypt, where you have the great pyramids of Khufu, Khafre, Menkaure, those are the 3 names of the pyramids. You see mathematics where they were using what we now call the Pythagorean theorem, but they were using it more than 2,000 years before Pythagoras was born. So that's very important. Culture is important because all people have contributed to mathematics, all people across the globe. And too many times in our textbook, we don't see that. We see Greeks, Romans, mostly older white men and their contribution to mathematics, but people all over the globe have contributed. And it's important for young people to see that.
When you were principal, were you trying to incorporate history about, let's say, mathematics into the curriculum? Because what you were talking about is hardly ever mentioned in school curricula.
I did it more so when I was a teacher, and I was actually learning as I was teaching. By the time that I became a principal at the University of Chicago Charter School in Woodlawn on the south side of Chicago, by the time I became a principal, I was actually doing it. So I wasn't just in a mathematics class, but I was doing this school-wide, where we were having conversations about history, principles out of Africa, such as truth, justice, righteousness, order, balance, harmony, and reciprocity. We were already celebrating Kwanzaa, Juneteenth, before it became a national holiday. So it was an overall context. But when I was a teacher, I had more leeway to do it directly. When I first became a principal, the very first thing that I did was to ask every teacher to create a theme for the year. And the theme had to start this way: African or African American contributions to. So if you were the English teacher, contributions to literature, contributions to mathematics. Everyone had to identify. And I had pushback on that. They would say things like, they can't find anything where Black people had did such and such and such and such subject. Others just didn't want to, for whatever reason, asked why. And I explained, well, the same way that you would teach British literature, right? And so we had to get around this thing where there's either this fear of using or saying Black or African and using that in the context of academia, and just not wanting to. And I had to explain to them that 99, almost 100% of your students are Black. So it's important for them to see in their learning people that look like them.
Mm-hmm. So at that time, what were the teachers able to create the themes and curriculum, and what was the reaction of the students and the parents?
That's fantastic. So I saw one of my students the other day. She's actually my personal trainer now. And so she started speaking to me about one of the things that she remembered the most was her senior thesis paper. And the class was Black Thought and senior thesis. And what they did in Black Thought, they had to pick a topic write a 25-page paper on it. And the kids hated me for doing this, write 25-page paper as seniors. They thought it was too much. But they had to write this paper on things that impacted Black people, Black culture, what have you. And that's one of the things that she remembered most. Most students like that part about it. And many of them, if I see them posting on social media now, especially, they'll say things like, oh, y'all just now celebrating Juneteenth. We've been celebrating Juneteenth. Oh, we already knew about that. So there's a sense of pride that students had. There were a lot of things that, of course, they didn't know. And so that piqued their interest to know about it. The engineering class that we started at the high school, I had, again, a former student. I involved students a lot, but they painted murals around of different Black scientists, engineers, and all. Many of those students went on to become engineers once they graduated and went off to college. So the impact, and it was the belief of seeing themselves and saying, you know what, this is possible for me as well.
Did you learn from your students that some of their research revealed some history that even you didn't know about?
Oh man, it was so much. It was because they chose so many different areas with things that they were interested in as well. Like they chose things in accounting. The one sister that was speaking to me the other day, she chose things in health. One of them, some of them, they continued on with their topics and there are at least two that I knew of that also used that paper for something that they did in college. But I also wanted to address how the teachers did. The teachers ended up doing fantastic. Mm-hmm. And so it's an example of the same thing with students. When you expect the best and demand the best, they're going to produce. So even though the teachers went on, oh, how are we going to do this? We don't know this, so on and so forth. They ended up doing a very good job of it. And keep in mind, because we were on the south side of Chicago, I had a very diverse team. It was not my majority Black teachers at all. White teachers, Christian, Muslim, Asian, Arabic, you name it, we had a diverse group, and they were able to get the job done, and they did very well with it. And they ended up enjoying the units and things that they created.
When the students in your Black Math Genius program, when they go to school, how does what they learn in Black Math Genius affect what they're doing in school?
It hits in a number of different ways. When they first start with us, they'll give us things like, well, this isn't how they're doing it in class, right? But mathematics isn't about a particular method. As one of my tutors said the other day when he was talking to the students, the end result, we all want to get to the end result, but the path that you take to get there can be very different in mathematics. The methods that you use can be very different at getting to the answer. And so that's one of the troubles that they have because they've only been taught one way. And there are multiple different ways. And we want to introduce them to multiple different ways because people are different. With some people, it's going to work if they just keep adding something over and over again. Someone else is going to say, you know what, I like it better to just do multiplication. So that's one of the things. The other thing is especially the younger students, when they use something, when they know something more advanced, like a third grader doing like a seventh grade concept, they're so eager to go to school and to share that. This past week, actually earlier today, I got a text from one of my workers that's in Chicago right now at a CPS school. And she said she has kindergarten. These kindergarten through fifth graders made me so proud today. They were begging me to get more homework. And so the students, for the most part, they first come in with struggling to the adjustment with being able to have this openness about mathematics and to be free thinkers and to think about things in their own way and to explain their thinking and not just be fed information that they regurgitate back. And then once they get past that and they start doing all the advanced stuff, like we're not just learning about the decimal system, but we're also learning about binary. We can go back and forth between that. And hey, I'm only in third grade doing this. Now they're excited about it and they want more.
So in Black Math Genius, they're taught that regurgitating formulas and processes is not the best way. The best way is to find the solution. And so you offer a lot of different ways to find the solution, but then the students are able to even come up with their own ways of finding a solution, and then do they reveal to the teachers how they found that solution, show their work, I guess, right?
Yes, absolutely. And so yes, they're taught multiple different ways. We want them to think freely. We also want them to struggle. So I was doing a problem the other day with a student. She was a junior, and I was at Olive Harvey College, and it was taking her a long time. And the children even get used to being patient, right? No one is saying, "Oh my God, hurry up," so on and so forth. The children are getting used to being patient. And I'll even say things like, "Thank you all so much for being patient," while she's thinking, right? But eventually this young lady, she figured it out. And then the person that I was training, I said to them, I said, typically what happens is after a little while, the teacher will say, "Okay, such and such, help her out." Or they'll just go and call on someone else. And imagine that feeling that you didn't get to finish your thought process. And now you're wondering what other people think about you, because children are heavily concerned about what people think about them. And adults are too, right? Because we want people to like our statuses on social media. We all care what people think about us. But this healthy struggle is important. So allowing them the time to think is extremely important.
So how do the parents get involved? Do they get involved? Do they learn as well in some way? How do they help their kids with their homework?
Yes, the parent piece is an untapped resource that schools aren't using as efficiently and effectively as they can be, and they can get a lot of power out of that. And so I remember when I was principal, we had about 25% of our parents that were showing up for parent-teacher conferences. And, I always had this thing with my teachers: we don't complain, we deal with it. And so basically we would state a problem and then seek to solve it. It was an opportunity. So I wanted 100% turnout, right? I wanted 100% of parents to come out for conferences. We didn't get to 100%, but we did get to 97%. But we were intentional about solving that problem. There's power in that. We're developing relationships. So now you're a team. If your parent likes the principal, likes the teachers, have a relationship, know that they can email them and get a quick response, they're more apt to be on the students about doing their children about doing the homework. And so we do a lot with parents. We have parent webinars all the time. I just got a calendar invite from my team that they have me scheduled for 3. I'll probably be doing parent meetings almost every week starting next week through the school year. This summer, as part of our foundations course, the tutoring services, we start each year with 2 weeks of meetings just with parents. So that is a powerful resource that, as educators, part of us getting better with what we're doing, we're going to have to tap into the resources of parents.
If some of our viewers, their students are older, like at what age are students still able to enter Black Math Genius and benefit from the program?
Yeah, right now we go from 3rd grade to algebra officially. But here's the thing: if you haven't learned about modular arithmetic, if you haven't learned about different base systems, if you haven't learned how to code, and you're a sophomore or a junior, there's still a lot of benefit in it. So any student can jump on and purchase just the boot camp, or they can jump into tutoring services. We will be expanding our tutoring service, I believe, for this upcoming school year, where we're going to go up to pre-algebra. So right now, anywhere from 3rd grade on up. And that's what we advertise, but we do have a young lady, at least one I know of, that's 6 years old. And she's been in the program, and she's multiplying, she's dividing, she's doing exponents, and all this summer she's also been coding. So it depends on the parents if they want to push it and try them at a younger age.
Mm-hmm. What about persons and children with disabilities? Is Black Math Genius able to accommodate them as well?
Yeah, the thing with labels is that, you label it and then what? I still fundamentally believe that all children can learn, different levels, different times, but you want to challenge all children. And here's an example of that. When I was a principal, for seniors, I mandated a required course, meaning you had to take this course if you were going to graduate, AP Computer Science. Now, typically, AP courses are electives, and typically who go into those electives, the higher performer students, right? Well, this included, because then the special education department said, what about the special education students? I said, yes, them too. They all have to take it, right? We'll do the same thing with modifying, so on and so forth. I was not expecting these results, but here's what happened. The special ed students were actually some of the better performing students. And I think I read something or had a conversation, and it was because of the algorithms, the structure, the step-by-step structures that benefited them very well. There were two brothers that were in it, and they had experienced some type of trauma, and they wouldn't speak. They knew how to speak, but they wouldn't speak. They became some of the best programming artists in that program. One of the students that were in special education, his mom came up afterwards, after graduation, and she was crying because she was so happy. He had got into Governor State University, not too far from Chicago. He was able to live on campus. They have a small campus, but he was going into technology because he enjoyed the coding so much. Mm-hmm. So my response to that is that, yes, we're aware of IEP 504 plans, autism and things like that, but all students can't learn. And we know how to work with students, how to be patient, and how to meet students where they're at and adjust to who they are so that they can bring out the best of themselves. Everyone is an individual. Everyone has their own different bar of excellence and success.
When the students learn about the history of math, and then some of their history does not relate to their culture, what is the response? Are they as interested when the history is in relation to a culture other than theirs?
What's so funny is that the children always seem to do better than the adults. So this week when I was introducing Black Math Genius to the students here in Brooklyn, I have white students in there, I have Hispanic students in there, Asian students, then of course Black students, so it's a very diverse group here in Brooklyn. And so I'm explaining to the students why the name Black Math Genius, but first I asked them, why do I name it that? And the kids, white kid, Black girl, they raised their hand. They was like, well, Black people are performing lower. That was it. I didn't have to go any further. They got it. They understood the mission and they moved on. So when we're introducing other cultures, for me, it's important because we want to teach our children young. So much of the chaos we have going on in the world right now is because we do not value and respect others. And by introducing other cultures, what I'm doing, first of all, collaboration, working with others. And we had this conversation today about collaborating, how we're going to do their desks tomorrow so that they're facing each other and working together. But respecting other people and other cultures. I have never, ever had a problem, a negative response from any student. I've had German students when I was in Michigan. I've had Jewish students. It doesn't matter. African students. I've never had a negative response from children when introducing other cultures. It has always been only the adults when I talk about Black Math Genius.
When a word about Black Math Genius gets out into the community, do any of the more privileged populations also want to enter your program?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And especially with the tutoring services, we have that more. And we also have families where their children are advanced. And so they may be a couple of grades ahead and they'll put their students in to continue to be challenged. So that's the thing. What we do want, and we're having conversations, we do want to make sure that we're picking up students in the middle as well as in the low groups as well, which is part of why we're wanting to get into schools, because families that may not be able to afford the monthly subscription cost, if the school can offer it and offer it to all of the students in the school, then even better.
What do your students who return to you tell you most benefited them about Black Math Genius?
It's a number of things. One is the trust, with trusting them to freely think. One of the other ones is this push on making mistakes. When you look at Einstein, from Einstein to Jordan, right? Academia to sports. They talk about failures in such a way that it's part of the success process, right? So Einstein would say he just kept finding ways that didn't work. Not I kept making mistakes, but each time something he found another way that didn't work, which put him closer to the solution. So students like that idea of healthy struggle, and they like the patience, being patient with them and allowing them to learn. And the other thing is the exposure. They're exposed to so much. When I was principal, and I was able to hire an engineer teacher because at first I was teaching a class. We did field trips up to Michigan Tech University. Again, this exposure, Michigan Tech University is way up in the UP in the upper peninsula of Michigan in Houghton, Michigan. There, it's probably about 95% white campus, so it's a different culture. Snow that comes up over your head. I took students there from the south side of Chicago, 8-hour trip because you really don't have the highways going through there. They love the experience and meeting other students from across the country. We had students coming in from Puerto Rico for this conference. There was an engineering conference, a robotics conference. They love the exposure and meeting other people. And that's one of the things that we do with Black Math Genius. Even in our tutoring services, we have students across the country, in Canada, and we even have a couple out of the UK. So engaging with others and being able to push this communication piece. Again, this community piece, this respect and this mindset is so important. Notice those things I'm placing even over the mathematics piece, right? Just being good people and respecting others.
And what are some of the milestones of Black Math Genius that you could share with us?
Yes, so milestones in the current form that it's in. We first started the tutoring services in February, and I started that first month just doing it for free. And then we launched in March, and I was the only tutor. Now, 4 months later, I've had to hire a program coordinator and 5 tutors. Actually, we'll be at 6 by the time this week is over with. One of our tutors right now is from India. I do want more diversity with our tutors as far as them not being all women. I have one male tutor right now. The second would be a male that we'll hire this week, but also more cultural exposure as well for our students. So that's one. Our growth with getting into schools. Last summer, we had one summer contract when we were doing the professional development and writing the summer programs, and that was in West Virginia. This summer, we had West Virginia, 3 programs in Chicago, and the program here in New York, and we recently wrapped up a program in Tecumseh, California, I believe as well. So the growth has been huge. We want to be in every state. Actually, we want to be all over the world. And the reason is not only because of the mathematics, just because of this respect and treating other people right, working together with others. I promise you that's going to solve a whole lot of problems when we can respect other people and also feel good about ourselves.
Assata Moore, could you give our viewers your maybe email or contact information so if they want to learn more about Black Math Genius, they could contact you?
Very easy, and we've said the name quite a few times, blackmathgenius.com. Everything that you need, contact information, more information about the program. If you're a school administrator, teacher, parent, you're a student watching, right? You can check out blackmathgenius.com. You can get in contact with me there. The email will be there, and all information on our program will be there also.
Thank you so much, Assata Moore, Black Math Genius. Love these conversations with you, and thank you so much for being our guest on.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Community Unity Now. This is Trudy Leong.
And this is Bill Morton. Thank you so much for watching and have a great evening.